What's the funniest sex story you've had or been told? 1. In my old neighborhood, one of my neighbors heard someone moaning over and over again in the house next to hers. So calls the police to do a welfare check. Cops show up and heard the same moaning. But it sounded like it was more than one person. And the cops bust down the door and it winds up being two deaf lesbians having sex. 2. Guy I know was in Vegas with a group years ago. He was single then and got lazy, so he hired a hooker, but was sharing a 2-bedroom suite with the other guys in the group. So they all had to wait outside in the living room while he did his thing. Well, he couldn't finish for whatever reason. So she was jerking him off trying to get him to, and she's doing it for mad long. All the other guys heard was him go, "Yo, it's not a shakuate," and they start cracking up. Obviously, loud laughter from the next room over doesn't help him, so then, a few minutes later, he gave up and goes to her, "You want to watch some Netflix?" And she just loudly yells, "Concentrate." It still get brought up when his so's not around. 3. When I was in my early 20s, I dated a guy who was into bondage. My roommate was out of town, so I planned some sexy surprises, including handcuffing myself to the bed for him to find. He didn't have a key to my place, and I lived at the back of a fairly quiet apartment complex, so I left the door unlocked. No sooner did I put that last cuff on, my phone rings and he leaves a message on my machine saying he was going to help his neighbor with a car repair first. 2 hours I laid there praying no one else would walk through that door. I was so mad by the time he got there and all he could do was laugh. Valuable lesson learned. 4. Was mid-deed. Missionary style. Intense eye contact. Then my prosthetic eye popped out and landed on her. 5. This comes to mind even though I probably wouldn't count it. A guy I met told me a story about a birthday party he had been invited to. He was around 19, I think. He was in the living room chilling with a friend before they left to go see someone. But then someone else just turned off the lights out of nowhere. He was confused, but turns out the party was turning into a full-on orgy, and he could kind of make out other people really going at it around him in the dark. So he was still on the couch at this point, confused, soda in his hand, and all the sounds were just echoing in the room. Eventually the lights go back on and the party resumes like nothing happened. Turns out he was hesitant to leave because he, quote, "didn't want to be rude and I wanted cake." 6. A friend of mine, about 19F at the time, had gotten very drunk during a night out and brought a dude home. He asked if they could do anal, and she said sure. The problem though, was that she was not quite clean in the chute, and shit got everywhere. After the deed was done, he went to the bathroom to clean up. When he came back, my friend apologized for that shitty experience. He answered, "I just puked in your toilet, so we're even." They then had breakfast and never spoke again. 7. Was staying with a friend of mine during Thanksgiving break at college. Let's call him Bobby. His mom immigrated from Korea, and to help out and thank her for her hospitality and copious amounts of amazing Korean food, I offered to drive her to church one evening. Her English wasn't perfect, but we were able to chat on the way. After a bit of small talk, she asks me, "Bobby have intercourse?" Now, while I knew he was having sex with a girl on our floor of the dorm, and I was not surprised that he wouldn't tell this to his extremely Catholic mom, I was shocked she would ask me, and so directly. All I could think to do was make sure I wasn't hallucinating, so I sheepishly asked intercourse, like I was so innocent I didn't even know what it meant. She replied, "Yes, intercourse. In the winter course. Like winter session classes." I then almost deliriously say yes. I think he wants to be a doctor or something. She was very excited to hear that. Big smile the rest of the way. He wanted to work in a record store, was not taking winter classes, and certainly had no desire to be a doctor. That last part caused him quite a bit of trouble later, so he was pissed about that, but it would have been worse if she had found out about the actual intercourse he was having. 8. I was hooking up with this guy, and after he came he immediately jumped out of the bed and started doing calisthenics. After a few deep lunges and a jumping jack, he looked me in the eyes, gave a little nod, and said, "I just fought you." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I was there." Then he ran out of my room, out of my apartment, and past his own pickup truck, just disappearing into the night. The truck was gone when I woke up in the morning. The next time he wanted to hook up, I told him I had a conflict that evening. He told me my priorities were not in the right place, and I had no idea what I was missing out on. Weird guy. 9. Was borrowing my dad's condo to impress a woman. Really nice place, decorated perfectly, full kitchen and bathroom. Basically looked like the set of a high-class porno. We decided to fuck in the guest bedroom, since I promised to destroy the place with her, and this way, I wouldn't be doing her in my dad's bed. In the middle of sex with the bedroom door open to the hallway, my grandmother walked into the condo to drop off some food for my father and saw us full naked, doing it doggy style with my belt around her throat. There is no word in any language to describe her face when she saw that. 10. Heard a story of a guy going at it, and he wanted to say "Who's your daddy?" when he shot his load. Instead he came out with "Where's your mother live?" 11. I actually overheard my brother telling this story to our Malay cousin. He would have never wanted me, his little sister, hearing this. He and his wife ate dinner. His wife loves extremely spicy hot sauce and puts it on everything. For some reason right after dinner they started kissing, touching, and one thing led to another, and she started giving him head and he said it burned like hell, and he had to tell her to stop. It burned for hours. There was still residual heat or spice from the hot sauce in her mouth. 12. Went on a date, but I was driving so I didn't drink, but she said I could just sleep on the sofa, and we should pick some wine up. Naive me didn't think anything of it. We get back to hers and it turns out to be a studio apartment. Too small to have a sofa. Again, didn't think much of it, so we're just on the bed drinking and talking. Again, I just thought it would be okay to sleep next to her. Anyway, she gets up and goes to the bathroom. Come out in just her underwear. She leaps over the bottom of the bed, leaps right on top of me and screams the safe word "ice cupcake." I lost it at that moment and could not stop laughing for 10 minutes. The sex was more extreme than I liked, but it was an experience. Years later I went to her wedding, and I asked her if she used the same safe word still. She said she didn't need one with him, and I asked why I had one. Apparently I look like the sort that she would need one. I'm still not sure if it's a compliment or not. 13. A friend of mine brought a guy back to the flat we were sharing at the time, and I got a text from her at about 1 a.m. saying she needed help. Turned out that partway through the act, she'd somehow got her head wedged down the side of the mattress and, rather than helping her out, the dude thought he'd seriously hurt her, freaked out and ran away, leaving her pretty much trapped upside down between the bed and the wall. This was about 10 years ago. At the time, I'm not sure either of us could have predicted that this exact situation would become an actual genre of porn in the future. 14. After a lovely evening with a date, I woke up around 6 in the morning because her kitten climbed onto my back. Made me go AWW until I suddenly felt it peeing on my back. So had poked my date, who grumbled it's too fucking early, and was rather upset with me waking her. But when I told her she needed to help out to avoid the kitten's piss ending up in her mattress, her mood changed quite considerably. 15. Buddy of mine was visiting his college girlfriend to meet her family for the first time. Nobody was home except her when they got there, so they had sex. Just as he finished inside of her, the parents got home. He scrambled into his clothes, and she quickly threw on some kind of sundress with no underwear. The whole time he was introducing himself to her parents, he kept making panicked glances at the floor where his girlfriend was standing to make sure that nothing dripped out. 16. Was at my guy's place. Had sex and went to hop in the shower together afterwards. He has an amazing dog. Love that little guy. However, as we get out of the shower we're talking and then it's silence. Not thinking too much, I continue to dry off and stuff. Then I hear I'm sorry, confused. I turn around to him holding my only pair of underwear that is now crotchless. BC his dog ate them while we were in the shower. Was wearing a dress for something important that day too. He ended up giving me a pair of his boxers, and I had to walk around men's underwear on under my dress during a presentation. Funniest and best moment ever so far. Although the sexes was even better. No complaints. Great laugh every time I think about it. 17. I've got 2 for you. One night many years ago, me and a buddy took these 2 girls to a local elementary school playground. We were teenagers. Give us a break. He takes his lady over to the slide. I take mine over to the swings. Things are going well, and I'm on top taking care of business when all of a sudden, I feel something long and wet in my asshole. I immediately turn around and there's a dog with his tongue in my ass. Some guy was walking his dog, on leash BTW, so the asshole knew what he was doing. and his dog decided to investigate. Needless to say, the lady I was with screamed and pushed me off, which scared the dog, who started barking and then nipped me on the ass. Definitely not the night I was hoping for. Next, let's fast forward a few years. Me and some friends have gone to a club where I meet this girl who is giving me the vibe that says buy me a few drinks, and I am DTF. So of course I bought her a few drinks, and we wound up leaving together in my car. I was still young, so no actual place to take her yet. So I drove us to one of my spots, which I thought would give us sufficient privacy. She and I are in the back seat doing what we do, and the moment of truth starts to approach. At this time, I should tell you that although this was the first time I met this girl, I, very stupidly, was not wearing a condom. So when the moment was close at hand, I opened the door and stepped out, where I came face to face with a cop who was coming to knock on the window. When I saw him, the shock caused me to lose control, and I came right on his shoes. I'm pretty sure I've never seen a person's face turn it red, but my God, was he angry. He screamed at me for a good 10 minutes. I sometimes wonder if he kept those shoes or got rid of them. 18. When I was 20, me and my boyfriend at the time spent the night at my parents' place for Christmas. My parents didn't care about sleeping arrangements, so we slept in my old room. Morning of the 24th, we were feeling frisky. My BF was going down on me when my dad burst open the door and slammed it shut just as fast as he had opened it. Me and BF just kind of laid there for a minute, contemplating suicide. Eventually, we bit the bullet and walked into the kitchen, knowing my dad had seen things he shouldn't have seen. The second we showed up, my dad basically yelled, "I'd invite you to have breakfast, but it looks like you already ate." I wanted to melt into the floor. Ugh.